What's up everybody, BigSweetC here with you. Got a special little video for you. Today I want to talk about something that a good friend of the channel, you guys all know him as Jonathan Klossel here on YouTube, Sakamala Lalecha over on the old Twitch arena. He brought this to my attention the other day. The word on the street is the Sony PlayStation 5 may be getting a hardware redesign for 2022. Now, if you've been trying to get a PlayStation 5, you can, and you haven't been successful, you probably noticed that there's a computer chip shortage. And to help keep up with the need for everybody to buy a PlayStation 5, keep up with demand of the PS5, which allegedly has been the best console release of all time. But to keep up with demand, Sony is reporting that they may have to redesign the core hardware in the PlayStation 5 to keep up with demand by going to a different structure. Now, the current structure that's in there is an 8-core AMD Zen 2 CPU that's based on AMD's RDNA 2 architecture. This one would be a new semi-customized 6nm CPU from AMD. And now the reason I bring this up is because this has kind of got me feeling a little bit of both ways. So in one aspect, I feel really happy because I enjoy the shite out of my PlayStation 5. So anything to increase demand, anything to increase fulfillment of demand, I think is a good thing. But at the same time, part of me is kind of skeptical on this because we all know how computers work, and even 6 months to a year can dramatically improve the inner workings of said CPU. And so for a gentleman who just bought his PlayStation 5 back in January, if this comes out, say, January of 2022, and it's considerably better than the one that I have for the same price, the $599.99 that I paid for it, I'm gonna be kind of a little pissed off, not gonna lie. You know, that's gonna kind of bite my chaps a little bit because we all know that they eventually come out with the better version. The Xbox came out with the Xbox One came out with the Xbox Series X. PlayStation 4 came out with the PS4 Pro. But I mean, we're talking 3-4 years down the road, like into these lifespans of the computer, of these consoles, and I can understand. You know, 3-4 years, yeah, you've given it a chance for it for games to be made for your console, and you know, and for people to jump in and have their shot at getting a base console. But 1 year is not really all that much, especially considering it's a pandemic year. And if this is that much better, I'm going to be really upset that I just bought this thing for the same price and I got a worse machine. Because now video games are going to, the games that are made for the PlayStation are going to come out for the better hardware, you know? And so I'm kind of torn how I feel about this. Again, on the one side, anything that can increase fulfillment of demand, I think, is a good thing. I think we need more people on PlayStation because a lot of the PS5 games that are strictly for the PS5 that have multiplayer right now are not all that fun to play because there's not a whole lot of people to play with. I'm thinking specifically of like Demon Souls. I think that would have been a much better player versus player PvP multiplayer experience if everybody had been able to get a PS5, or at least maybe half of who wanted a PS5 to get a PS5. Because, again, back to the biggest console launch of all time, it is off to a phenomenal start. Now, we'll see whether any of that has to do with the fact that it's all these bots just buying up this demand so they can turn around and resell it at twice the cost. So supply and demand states that right now, well, there's so much more demand than there is supply, you can get away with charging more for it. As supply becomes increasingly larger, demand is supposed to go down because you can fulfill that demand, and it's going to drive the cost down. So we'll see how much the availability is issuing into the effect of their tremendous beginning to the sales period. But they're projecting that they're going to beat the PS4 second year sales of roughly 14.8 million, so right around the 15 million mark. They're expecting to hit that, if not exceed that, on the PS5. Now, considering everybody's still at home, not everybody, about half the people are still at home on COVID unemployment. It's not irresponsible to aim that high, in my opinion. You know, the idea of capitalism is if you do 10 million one year, you're going to do 12 million the next, and then 15 million, and then 16 million, and then 18 million. And the idea of capitalism is perpetual growth, right? You're never satisfied with selling one. You got to sell 1 million, and then when you sell 1 million, you got to sell 10 million, and then 100 million, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. So it's not unrealistic for a company like Sony to have such high standards, if you will, in terms of their projection. But I'm curious as to see if they're able to fulfill that demand or that quota that they think they can reach, and whether or not that projection changes depending on how available the PlayStation is. Now, from what I understand, everything else is essentially going to be the same. They're not going to redesign the outside look of it. It's still going to be the gaudy, giant alien ship looking white. I'm not going to lie. Not the biggest fan of it. Apparently, allegedly, they're supposed to come out with like covers that you can then change in and out for and design your own, if you will. But I still haven't seen any kind of word on whether those are actually available now. So if you've seen it, comment below. Let me know where I can find those things so I can start looking at them. But again, like, you're really kind of really hedging a bet here by changing up the design of the console so early. Like, I know I'm not gonna be the only one that's irate about the fact that they come out with a specifically designed, custom designed AMD CPU for the PS5 a year after they came out with the PS5. I'm not going to be the only one that's upset by it, and I have friends that won't buy Final Fantasy VII Remake because it's not the whole game. You know what I mean? So like, gamers are those types of people. They don't take stuff lightly, and they hold a grudge for a super long time. Like, they're just, they're kind of needy people. We're loners, and we hang out by ourselves, and we complain on the internet all the time. So, it's only natural that if we feel like we get screwed over, we're gonna hold that against you, And right now, Sony's got a lot going for it. It's got clearly the better exclusive library. You could kind of put Sony and Nintendo head to head. Nintendo's got their tried and true Mario games, Zelda games. Heaven forbid a Metroid ever comes back out. They got Metroid. So they have their games, Mario Kart, Smash Brothers. They'll always kind of be a competitor. But Sony and Microsoft are the two big ones that we're talking about here. Even though Nintendo might be the most popular console in Japan, it is crushed by the Sony and Xbox numbers around the world. So really, if when Sony's talking about being able to be competitive, they're talking about maintaining the members they have now and not losing any to the Xbox console gamers. But they're so similar now that I can see people like me feeling spited and then just jumping ship and going to Xbox for the rest of our lives. So this is something that I'm pretty interested about, because I am kind of completely torn down the middle. I want more people to be able to get a PS5 because I love mine so much, but I also don't want to and this is going to sound jealous as all get up, but I also don't want to be upset because you guys get a better system at the same price. You know, like I hate to be that kind of like that dichotomy of love versus envy and whatnot. But I mean, I'm just kind of throwing this out there how I feel, because I am kind of caught in the middle, and I want you guys to know that this is going on. One, because if you are looking for a PS5, I want you to know that Sony is working on getting more of them available. But two, I also want you to be aware that if you have one and you're kind of spiteful like myself sometimes, Sony might feel like they're kind of screwing you over here. And I'd like to hear your guys' opinion on all this stuff, because that's what this channel is all about, is starting a discussion. But I just wanted to bring all that jazz to your guys' attention. And now I'm going to leave the ball in your court. What do you think? Is this a good idea by Sony? Is this a bad idea on Sony's part? What happens if it's not as good? Are they going to charge the same price for it? When it comes to video game quality, are you going to get less of an experience with this new one? Are the games that do come out, are they going to be built on this new custom designed AMD CPU, or are they going to be built on the same one that I'm using right now? Like, do they go back to the standard operating procedure when the pandemic does eventually end and these semiconductors do become more readily available? Or is this just an opportunity for Sony to maybe go to some third-party companies? Is that a better idea? Is, are the Intel AMD cartels maybe reaching their peak performance, and people are starting to realize it? Maybe it's time to start venturing into these third-party candidates to see if they can produce the same quality of goods. I'm generally curious as to what the world thinks, because it's interesting to me. It's one of these things where he, our good friend of the channel, Jonathan, brought it up, and I haven't quite gotten a chance to process it, really. I've been trying to find answers as to how comparable are these two products gonna be, and the only thing that anybody says is that this came out. Now maybe the Digitech article from Taiwan, if I can somehow get my hands on it, maybe that has some actual, if I can, one, get my hands on it, and two, get somebody to translate it for me, if it's not in English, because I don't speak any other languages, to maybe that has a little bit more explanation. But all I've seen so far is that they're planning on redesigning it, and the only thing I can think of is those two things. Either that's awesome, or hey, that's bullshit. And I'm curious what you guys think. But before we get too far away, we're going to wrap that one up. I do generally care for your input, so again, if you think it's a good idea, hit that like button, hit that comment section below, tell me why it's a good idea. If you think it's a bad idea, hit that like button, comment down below, let me know why we should be upset by this, and so I can agree with it. But either way, that's going to do it for this one. BigSweetC, that's me, wishing YouTube, that's you, wonderful day, night, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it might be. Long as you're watching, I'm wishing you a wonderful watching time. If you are having a wonderful watching time, please do me that favor. Hit that like, hit that sub, hit that notification bell so you know when I do go live or drop a new video. Head on over to Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter. Follow me over there as well, at BigSweetC. Either way, sweetness, signing off. Peace.